Okay, here we go. Hello and welcome to The Slow and the Furious. I'm Emily, your host. This is the gang, and we are talking tonight about driving modifications. I accidentally didn't hit record right away, so I'm just going to go back to the presentation, and off we go. Say hi, everybody.
Hi.
Hi.
All right, here we go. Back to the thing. Okay, so like I said, there's, oops, I'm gonna go back here. So, like I said, they're gonna ask, can you drive? And we can't really tell you that, but an evaluation can. And so a lot of times the process starts with a driving evaluation. And there's basically VR will pay to see if you will be able to drive. And that driving evaluation will basically, that's everything. The evaluator will write up a whole big report and send it to the vocational rehab counselor. In Texas, it's called DARS, so I might refer to it as DARS sometimes. But they'll send it to your VR counselor, and then your VR counselor will then write up a list of what you would need to drive, and then usually the process from there, in Texas at least, is that you go and you purchase a vehicle, and VR agrees to pay for it, knowing that you've passed the evaluation and that you'll be trained and you'll do your thing. So I don't know how it worked for you guys. Like, Kristen, how did it work with you? Did you have to do a driving evaluation at all?
Yeah, I did a driving evaluation first, actually, through Kessler Institute. Is actually, I think that's pretty famous. I don't know, maybe it's not in the country for people with paralysis, and that's like right next door to me, basically. So I did my driving evaluation there, got the prescription, and from there on out went to our version is DVR, and had to go through the 3 bids to get the 3 price quotes. They pick the best, or actually you could pick whatever price quote you want as long as you get 3 of them, and then you pay a percentage based on whatever DVR says for the modifications.
Oh, okay. So it's percentage based. Interesting. Maria,
Yeah.
you just went through a driving evaluation, right?
Yes.
Did this begin your process as well?
Well, my process is a bit different. Prior to my evaluation, I already had a wheelchair accessible van that VR paid for the modifications for me to be a passenger in. And so I recently just passed my driver's evaluation, and so now we're looking at everything I need to get in order to get the hand controls.
How so did VR pay for your driving evaluation?
Yes.
Okay. And that was tied to a work goal, and we'll talk a little bit about that. How about you, Lauren? How's that working with you?
Yeah, so mine was, I guess, a little bit more extended because I'm just starting out. I've never been behind the wheel before at all. So I actually went through 2 evaluations. The first one was, I guess, more what you use, Emily, with the small wheel. But I had, extreme difficulties spinning that around quick enough. So I ended up doing and the first person I went to did not do high-tech joystick driving. So I went to a second one, branch driving school in Pennsylvania. They had an office down here, so they came down here to do my second evaluation. So that started the process, and then I had to go through training and get my license and get all that first.
And so did VR pay for that stuff, though? Did they do all that?
Yeah, they did.
And it was tied to a work goal? Is that how it worked?
Yeah, it was. To help maintain my current job.
Right. And Lauren Sanford, I have to start calling people about it. I might just call you Sanford. I feel like, isn't that beautiful? No, but so have you done any of this process at all?
When I lived in Florida, I took about like 6 lessons. And I had a wheel similar to yours. I just held on to it with a tri-pin. I did put gas on the left, but because I couldn't follow through with buying the car, they wouldn't follow through with helping me get my license.
Okay, and that's oddly a little bit of my process in a way. Errol, I'll stop sharing for a second. When I was 17 years old, I basically wanted to start driving like any teenager, and so my high school offered driver's ed, but obviously I couldn't be in driver's ed. So somehow I finagled it to get my high school to send me to driver rehab in Rochester, New York, to learn how to drive. And so I don't know what I was thinking because the high school paid for it. So I went and I took a bunch of lessons and I used their car to get my license, which I don't know if any of you guys did that too. Did you use the car that you were evaluated in to get your license?
That's what I did, yeah.
Yeah,
That's the plan, yes.
Right. So I got my license and I only had one try. I remember it was a gigantic van. It was like a monster van. And it was anyway, I did a parallel park it and do all kinds of funny stuff. And anyway, I made it and I got my license. And I remember I left the driving evaluation. My dad was picking me up and I was like, Dad, I've got my license. And he's like, that's awesome. That's great, Emily. And I'm like, yeah. So like, when am I going to start driving? He's like, Dad, I don't know what to tell you. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, well, I can't buy a van for you. I don't have any, he's like, I don't know. I guess you're just, I don't know. And I was like, I guess when you get a job? And I was like, but I'm like 17. And I'm like, I can't pay for a van. And he's like, yeah, it's really tough, Em. Sorry about that. And so I didn't drive until I was 26. I had my license the whole time. But I didn't actually drive a car until I was 26. After I got my first job, and then I had to get reevaluated because I didn't even know if I could still drive. And then I started the process again. So I kind of feel you, Lauren Sanford. Yeah. Uh-oh, I think she's frozen.
Sorry, I'm back.
Okay.
I was on the phone.
Oh, no, it's fine. So anywho, okay. So we all went through evaluation. So it's kind of interesting. All of us have gone through evaluations. All of us have pretty much had VR pay for it. And that usually, and I think pretty much all of us went through the test, the driving test, with the evaluator's van before our van was actually set up, right?
Mm-hmm.
So usually once that's all done, then VR decides to pay for the van. So I'm going to go back to this and share my screen again. Okay. So I have some videos of me driving, and I can dig those up after, but I've posted a few on Living with MD, and I can show one eventually. I'll go dig one up. But so even if you can drive physically, you will be told most of the time, there's a lot of people that will tell you that you can't, because driving with hand controls costs thousands of dollars, like $80,000 for my setup. So you better have a reason that is equivalent to the money that will be spent on your goal. So I want to drive so I can be independent is not going to cut it. You need a very well thought out plan. So and I'm sure you guys probably know this, VR is, to me, it's a negotiation, it's an investment on their end. And so when I've made arguments to them, I've used their language back at them. So I will memorize their mission and I will state the mission and I pretty much put everything I can in writing. And I tie it to work or maintaining employment. For my second van was much harder to get because I had to prove that my current van was falling apart. And I needed to prove that I needed to go back basically and beg them for another, load of money. And even though they tell you that the money that they're spending on you is not a factor, they're liars. It is a factor to them, and they're very weird about it. So, if you're talking to them and you mention that you want to use the van to go to the grocery store, or you want to use the van to go to the mall with your friends, or you want to use it, they're not even gonna listen to you. Everything has to be tied to vocation, I found. Do you have anything to say about that with your relationship with VR and that whole process?
No, I had the same thing. I just got a new car last year. I had the car before it for 13, 14 years, and it was really like on its last leg, which is crazy. It doesn't sound that old, but the way that we use it with all, how it goes, and the equipment was so outdated at that point, with the hand controls. And I really needed to convince them constantly that I needed to get to my job every day. If I didn't get to my job every day, I couldn't let them know that, yeah, maybe my mom could drive me every now and then, but it's about being an independent, contributing member to society who's fully employed. And without that, I basically lose my job. So I did the same thing you did. I put that in writing all the time. I took pictures of the outdated car and, all those sorts of things. But yeah, you're exactly right.
Yeah, and one thing is, if you live near a bus line, or if you live near any kind of services that could provide you with transportation to your job, that's another hurdle you got to get over, because then you have to think, how can I defeat this argument? Because they could just, I've always feared my counselor saying, well, you could take the bus to work, because I live kind of close to a bus. And I'm like, but I mean, it would be horrible. And I just had to be really honest and just be like, I would have to get up at like 4:00 in the morning, combine that with my morning routine. I'd have to take 2 buses. By the time I got to work, it would be like a 4-hour commute every day, and like, that's just not reasonable. Like, to go 5 miles, So, I mean, so it was one of those deals where I've had to really, kind of prepare myself for all their arguments. How about you guys, Lauren and Maria? And Lauren Sanford, have you had these conversations with a vocational rehab counselor yet?
No.
Okay. What about you guys, Lauren and Maria? How are your counselors? Are they nice?
Yeah, so I switched counselors. So I was originally assigned somewhere else and switched to a different one that was a little bit closer and a little bit better. So I did have to make a written justification on why I needed it. So it was mostly to maintain my job, my current job, and I did have to make a justification to why, public transportation wasn't viable. And mostly I just said that it's unreliable and inconsistent. So, getting to work on time would be hard, and also having to wait out in the cold or the rain or anything like that would be just unreasonable and bad for my health. So I use that kind of as a...
Do you have copies of your letter?
That's a good one, yeah.
Yeah,
I do. I would have to take, I could, share that, but I would have to
obviously modify it and take out personal information.
Yeah.
But I would love your letter.
Okay.
How about you, Maria? How's your counselor?
So this time around, my counselor is fairly new, and the rehab engineer and the assistive technologists on my case that are trying to coordinate the purchase of these hand controls for my van are very much very active. They're go-getters. They really fight for getting people the stuff that they need. So I got really lucky with having them on my case, and I'm hopeful that they'll be able to push it through.
My counselor and I I am not impressed with him at all. He is an older man, very limited experience. He's not, he's like, this is not his home country, which is fine, but I just don't think culturally he kind of gets it at times. And he spells rehabilitation wrong in his signature on his email, and I refuse to tell him it's spelled wrong because I love it. Like every time I get it, I know I'm gonna win. It's like, oh, like he can't even spell rehabilitation. You know, and basically because I put everything in writing and because I write so well, like he can't say no to me, but he tries. And that's the hardest part, is he stalls the process to the point where I have to get evil. And it was funny, I've been working with him for a very long time, and we've gotten to the point now where it's like we've admitted we're in some kind of dysfunctional marriage. And like when I see him, you know, once a year or whatever, I go in there and I literally take the keyboard out of his hands and I start typing my work goals into the computer for him. And like he just like hands up, just sits there and just like lets me do whatever I want. Anyway, but yeah, so it's an interesting relationship. It's a love-hate. I really wanted to ditch him many, many, many times. But at the same time, like it ends up working in my favor. It's a fight along the way. And vocational rehab has not been kind to me. They are not about my goals at all. I had the woman that inspected my van, my last van, which was last year. The day that the inspection took place, she came and she told me many, many times that I was very lucky and that I better take care of it. And she was almost like threatening me, and she was really mean. And she's like, "We spent so much money on you." And she's like, she's like, you know, I would never own anything that nice. And she was like, you feel like really terrible. And I just had to sit there and take it because, you know, like I had no choice. They paid for it. So,
Wow.
yeah, they're jerks.
Yeah.
But I deal with them. So I'm glad that you've had positive experiences, it sounds like, pretty much. That's good. All right, so I'm going to back to my share screen. Here I go. Okay. So back to this. So roadblocks to your goal, we kind of talked a little bit about that. Available and accessible transportation near you. So that could be a roadblock because they'll always throw that, well, why don't you take the bus to work? They love that. Or what about special transit? Like no one's figured out that special transit is probably like the worst thing in the world, no matter where you are. I've never met someone that says, I love my special transit service. Like no one I've ever met says that. So they'll say those questions. They'll also, you know, obviously, you know, VR is the quickest and easiest out of all the ways to get this done. And you're going to need an employment or an educational goal. And they usually don't go for the educational goal. They'll usually go with the employment goal. Because the employment goal gets you out of their office. So, and then lack of creativity. If you're not a creative thinker and you don't know how to, you know, come up with fun and exciting new ways to get this stuff taken care of, I think you really do need to think outside the box at times. So if you're not very creative, that can hurt you. And your social universe, like, I've noticed that people that are very involved with like their church community or have like a really big social circle, they tend to get a lot of support for these kinds of things. So these could be some roadblocks. Any thoughts on that? What was your biggest roadblock?
I have to say, I really, the yellow tape of the whole process was the roadblock in itself for me. But I was able to, I have to say, New Jersey has been pretty great in terms of not really pushing against or making me feel bad or, you know, any of those experiences that you had. I was able to use the education argument for when I was going into college. getting my first car, or when I was in college, my first year.
Oh,
That's
wow.
when I got it. And then now for the second car with the employment argument. But yeah, I've been pretty lucky in that sense. I mean, it was like agonizing to go through the process, but now that I hear your stories, I guess it wasn't that bad, you know?
See, so how about you guys? Any major roadblocks or issues that I mean, any point in time where you thought this isn't going to happen for me?
I mean, my most major robot was getting the original modifications for my van just for the ramp. That was an uphill battle for me, where they pulled the same stuff like, you know, why did you take the bus there? And you're not out of college yet. Why do you need this? And trying to, I had a different counselor at that time, so there were some roadblocks in that sense. But I was also fortunate enough again to have a really proactive rehab engineer on my case who eventually, after probably, 2 years of back and forth, pushed it through. So that was my biggest hurdle, is getting those initial modifications for me to even ride in my van.
And you, Lauren?
So I guess for me, it's just there's so many steps in between, you know, starting the process and ultimately getting approval. I had to, so for every step, you know, once I did the evaluation, then I had to go get my learner's permit. And before I could get my learner's, it had to go through our DMV, or it's called MVA Wellness Review Board, to make sure that you're healthy enough to drive. So they had to get the evaluation from the driving school, the evaluator, then get, you know, approval to get my learner's permit. And then once I got my learner's permit in Maryland, you have to take a 30-hour in classroom portion before, you know, then I was able to take my 66 hours of behind the wheel training. So there's just a lot of integral steps in between that took time, that were frustrating, definitely, because, you know, each step can take a while. So I had to definitely be proactive and following up on, you know, where are we in approval of, you know, from MVA and from other people, to make sure it kept going on. So that was kind of the hurdle on my step, just from, I guess, anyone who starts driving having to have that background training. But my step of getting medical approval was daunting.
Gotcha. And Lauren Sanford, what would you say is your biggest hurdle right now? Oh, I think she's frozen. Oh, that's the worst.
Oh.
Oh, there you are. Oh, she's gone. Ah, we lost her. You know, I guess what is, hopefully she'll come back. I hope so. How long was your process, like each of you, like from start to finish? I mean, I know some of you guys haven't finished, but when did you start, and how long has it been since you've been working at it?
I guess for me, I started in July of 2013. So now I'm finally at the process where hopefully by the end of the year, if I'm being conservative, that I would have.
The end of like 2015? Yeah, not the end of the school year. Oh, wow.
So it took a long while. So first, because that was my first time applying for VR services in Maryland. So I had to go through that process, and then finding time from work to take off to do the classes and the training, and then waiting for all those intermittent approvals took a while. So yeah, I started in July of 2013 and still ongoing at this point in time.
How about you, Kristen? How long did it take you?
I'm trying to think. Probably about a year and a half. I would think from start to finish. Welcome back.
Okay, welcome back.
Yeah, so about a year and a half, in terms of the first time when I had to go through the lessons and all that time included, the application process to DVR. This latest time, about a year, I would say.
Yeah.
But that was even without, I still had to do the prescription, but I literally went to see the guy that did it 13 years ago. He saw me, so I really hadn't changed that much. Signed off on it. That was all fast. It was the getting the card, ordering the vouchers, all that stuff. So it's a really long process.
Right, I totally get it. And Maria, how about you? When did you start the process?
I started my application for hand controls in mid-October of 2014, so about 6 months ago. And so far, I've had like 3 evaluations because we iteratively tried different types of hand controls until we got it right. And now I'm waiting to take some driving lessons and get my driver's license. So it took me about that long to get it.
I'm guessing you're going to be in it for another year. That's
Probably,
fine.
yeah.
But that was about a year and a half for both. And the second one was it was interesting because my van was in the process of dying while I was trying to apply to get the new van. And so I was playing this horrible game where it was like, it's gonna die. Can you please hurry up? But they're like, well, it's not dead. It's obviously still working.
Yeah, I
like,
get that.
so it was like back and forth the whole time. And like finally, like I would, if it died, I'd make this huge dramatic thing, and then and what am I supposed to do? How am I going to afford to get a new van if I'm dealing with this broken one and if I'm waiting? And like I was just like, it was tough. It was really tough. And like I had heard horrible horror stories about people with neuromuscular disabilities that had died waiting because Texas is so slow that by the time they got around to approving it, like the person had died. And I was like, I don't want to be one of these people. Like, can you please hurry up? Anyway, so Lauren, have you, but so far, like, what's your biggest roadblock right now preventing you? You said it's not having a job yet, or is that where you're at?
Yeah.
Is affording the van, no one's really brought that up, but buying the van, were you all required to purchase the chassis of the vehicle before the mods would be done?
Yes.
Yeah.
Plus a big percentage of the mods for me.
Really?
So maybe that's why it was easier. I paid a huge chunk. I think they paid, trying to think of the percentage. Well, the numbers wise, they paid, I want to say 60 of it, and I paid 20.
Wow.
So, which is huge. I mean, I did take a loan from my parents, and I'm paying them back.
Yeah,
I do have savings because I've been working for 9 years now. So, but that's it. That's all. I mean, I'm cleared out now, But if there's one thing that I spend it on, that's it. But otherwise, I don't know how I think somebody who maybe was not employed would have a lesser percentage.
Right.
Maybe. I don't know because I'm getting a paycheck. I have no idea.
Yeah, I didn't have to do a percentage. Actually, because I don't make a lot of money, I was given some down payment assistance, but I did have to purchase the van, the chassis, and I went with a dealership that already had modified vehicles on the lot. And so, like with my first vehicle, I sent it away to get modified. But with the second vehicle, it was already set up that way at the dealership. We have a really kind of fancy-dancy dealership down the street. And so I chose my vehicle, and then they just deducted the chassis cost from the modified cost. And so they sent that piece to the VR. So it was kind of an interesting negotiation. And then what I did is I took a loan from my dad, and I pay him $250 a month for 5 years. And he said, and like, if my check is late, he literally tells me he's going to repossess it. Like he calls, like just yesterday, he hadn't gotten, I usually send him like a bulk, like I send him checks in bulk. And so I owe him like a bunch of checks. And so he called me and he's like, do I need to send the men out to break your arms? And I'm like, I will send you the check. Just give me a break, man. And he was like kidding around, but we joke around. He's like, how good a shape is your in? He's like, I'd really like that, man. Let's have it back. And anyway, it's funny. But he was very kind in giving me a loan. And then he gave me $15,000, and then I had to put about $4,000 of my own savings into it. And then I got down payment assistance. I think it was about $2,500 in down payment assistance from VR, which is kind of unheard of. I can't believe they paid for it. I was kind of shocked. And then I also had a rebate. So when all that was added up, I was able to get the chassis paid for. But so how about you, Lauren Giles? Did you?
So I'll probably just be financing it through my credit union, through work. I did have to, based on my income, it was based on my income and not the modification costs, pay a certain percentage of, I guess, the modification costs, as well, based on my income. And then the rest of it, I'll probably put a down payment and then finance the rest through a credit union.
Okay. What do you guys do for a living, Kristen and Lauren and Maria and Lauren? What are you going to be doing? So I just want to carry. I'm just curious. Who wants to go?
Okay, I'm a teacher.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
What do you teach?
I teach elementary special ed, resource room.
Very nice. Little kids.
Yep, well, little 5th grade, they're not so little anymore, but close, yeah.
Cool. And what about you, Lauren Giles?
I'm a biomedical engineer. I work for the government.
Oh, it's not really fancy.
Huh?
It's not very fancy.
No.
Lauren Sanford, what do you do, or what are you going to be doing?
I'm in grad school for mental health counseling.
Mental health counseling, cool. And Maria?
I'm a transportation planner. So I'm an urban planner that does transportation stuff.
Cool.
You weren't hurt by the STS remarks, were you?
Huh?
You weren't hurt by the STS remarks, were you?
You froze for a bit. What? I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I said you weren't hurt by the STS remarks, were you?
What does that stand for?
I'm sorry, Special Transit Services?
Oh, you mean paratransit?
Yeah, paratransit. I didn't hurt your feelings, did I, when I knocked them?
No. No. Actually, I have a little a scheme that I'm trying to work in the Atlanta area for how to make paratransit better, but that's another story for another time.
Oh, interesting. We should actually do like a public transportation hangout. I'd be very curious to see how we can talk about that. Would be a fun chat. That would be really fun. I work at a community college. I'm in an office for students with disabilities, or it's called Student Accessibility Services. And I teach. I was a teacher for 7 years, and I gave that up quite happily.
What did you teach back then?
I taught high school. I taught English electives. So I taught mostly like seniors, and I taught basically like every student that no one wanted in their classroom.
Mm-hmm.
So they just threw them in my room. It was like kind of like a holding cell for children, or
Like Dangerous Minds, but real life.
Yes, Dangerous Minds without the minds.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, I worked in an urban high school, and I taught in yearbook. I did yearbook. I did journal, like the newspaper, and some reading, some ESL. So a lot of a mixed bag. So anywho, and everybody's pretty much full time where they're at, or they're going to be full time. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. So let me go back to my thing. Okay. So let's see. And we're moving along. So the pros and cons of VR funding. The pros is, you don't have to do a lot of fundraising for the modifications. The inspections, there's inspections on the modifications. So therefore, you know you're getting something that's probably safe because they have so many like requirements. You get some help with future mod maintenance because a lot of times if they pay for a system, they will also not necessarily pay for it to be maintained, but they will work with warranties, and the people that sell the mods will be, you know, it's all in their best interest to keep you on the road. So, and there's some guidance with working with VR funding. There's a trajectory, there's steps, you know, all that stuff. Where did Lauren go? Is she still here? Oh, she's still here, Lauren Giles. Oh, there she is. Okay, sorry. It's a stupid view of this thing. It doesn't show everybody on the thing. Okay. And then cons, time. I spoke about this. You could literally die before you get the van. There's a lot of restrictions. You know, they don't allow you to just get any vehicle a lot of times. For instance, like, you know, they wouldn't pay for, I think it's the Honda Element, to be modified. For in Texas, they're you know, there's some things like they won't, they don't like certain vehicles. So it's a little bit of a fight. And you've also just have to, you know, you have to know how to work the system. And if you're not a person that can work the system, you're gonna struggle. Does anyone have anything that they want to add to that?
In Massachusetts, the car can't be older than 5 years old.
Yeah, that's a restriction for sure. Yeah, that's the mileage. They have to look at mileage. They have to look at all that stuff. And Maria, did you have any issues with that since you were modifying your van?
So that's the thing. I bought my van new and modified it for passenger use. And I bought it almost 3.5 years to the date that I applied for time controls for it. And they're probably gonna have to, and by they I mean like the rehab engineer and the my counselor are probably gonna have to file for an exemption on my behalf, because in Georgia they typically will not purchase any sort of van mod if the vehicle is over 3 years old and if it has over 30,000 miles on it. Mine is 4 years old and has about 20,000 miles on it right now. So it's still under the mileage limit, but it's over the age limit. And they're probably either going to have to make me buy a new car, which would be ridiculous, I think, or just try to push it through as an exemption. So
What kind of van is it?
It is a Chrysler Town & Country, 2010. I bought it right at the end of the year, and it's got a VMI conversion on it.
That's good to know. And what about you? Anybody else? Anybody else want to talk about their ride?
My original plan and what's on my prescription is a Dodge Caravan, probably the SXT. I think it's the model number. But I've been told I could potentially also get a Chrysler Town & Country. So if I can, I would prefer to switch to a Chrysler Town & Country. Probably the touring model has, you know, enough features that I need on it.
Cool.
Yeah, I had the Dodge Caravan was my first car, and I have a Town & Country now, the 2014 model, I think. And it is the same chassis as the Dodge, so I knew compatibility-wise, they were pretty comfortable with working. You know, they said it was the same difference. It's really just exactly like you said, the features that you want and stuff like that. So I have to tell you, the Town & Country, it feels, compared to the Caravan, like the Caravan felt like a truck, even though it wasn't a truck. And the Town & Country feels like like a big girl car. Like it's kind of luxury, you know.
Yeah.
But I was like so thrilled with it. So
What are your what ramps are you doing? Do you have VMI or Braun? Or?
I've drawn.
Braun, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And is it in floor or is it the one that
No, it's the fold out.
fold out? Yeah, that's
Mhm.
what that's called. Flips. It flips.
Oh, flips, yeah.
Goodness. No,
Yeah.
and then Maria, what about you? Do you have an in floor?
I have an in-floor ramp, yeah.
I have an in floor. And Lauren, do you know if you're going to have an in floor or is it going to be a fold out?
It's going to be a fold out.
Okay. I have an in floor, and I was a little bit. I have a Dodge Caravan. It's a 2012, and it's got an in floor VMI. I prefer. I think I prefer the fold out. For even though there are benefits and there are not so. The benefit is a person can open the door and exit the van without engaging the ramp, which is kind of nice. That is a nice feature. The downside for me is I don't feel like it's very strong, and they've told me how to like get it out if it gets stuck, but I know there's a way to do it, but I'm just not that mechanical, and I'm still trying to figure out how I would do that by myself in the van if I ever needed to. I don't like it as much.
I was worried that there'd be a lot more ways of like things to get inside and malfunctions and stuff like that. Whereas if there's a malfunction with the fold out, you literally just kick it out,
Right.
like ram it with my chair, and then I could go get somebody
Right. Yeah, no,
to get me back in the car.
Yeah, I had that with my Ford Windstar, and that was my first van. And they don't even modify these fuckers anymore. Like they're the worst. They're like it was the worst van ever. And so the Dodge feels like total luxury. Like you guys you went from the Dodge to the Grand Caravan. I am, I went from the Ford to the Dodge. So I consider it, I consider it that I'm moving up the ladder. I still I just can't afford that much. So I couldn't afford all the fancy business. And they say that the Dodge engine is is it a Mercedes engine or something? Like they talk about how it's a really nice engine. It's made by Mercedes or something. Blah, blah, blah. If I were a dude right now, I hate to be.
Yeah, I have no idea.
I'm not, yeah, I don't know. And I shouldn't say if I was, but a lot of dudes know cars, which, not saying women don't, but I can't talk about engines. I don't have those skills. So anyway, all right, so back to the screen. We're almost done. Just so you're like, oh, I don't want to talk about this anymore. All right, anyway, all right, so pros and cons. So Amanda, if she were here tonight, would tell you about all the things she did to raise money for her chassis of her vehicle. And so she did a lot, man. She went crazy. She did a lot of really kind of, and not in kind of a, which I haven't checked the thread that I'm in a cripple fight on Living with MD with right now over inspiration porn. But I was going to use but anyway, I was having a big fight before all this started tonight. So I have to go back and see where it is. See how many people yelled at me. But anyway, that's a different story. But she did a lot of non-inspirationally kind of things. Like she did a lot of contests, bake sales, garage sales, eBay. She did a lot. Like she had donations just come in. It was kind of cool. And then I joke around like prostitution, but begging, GoFundMe, which some people will say is begging, joining a mega church. Every time I see like those van contests, man, anyone that's in a mega church, they get like thousands of votes. Yeah, people love to help out when you're in a mega church. And obviously, Facebook, stuff like that. So, did you guys have to do any fundraising at all? I'm very
saving and loans, really.
Yeah. And then, once you're on the road, and so I think a lot of people don't really get that once you're on the road, you got to maintain the thing. Like you work so hard to get it, and then you have to deal with all the maintenance, right? And the insurance and all of that stuff. Amanda, she pays way too much for insurance. And I tell her that all the time. I get full coverage, and I have a policy that basically doesn't punish me for having a modified vehicle. So some policies they actually, like, I go with is it Farmers? I think I go through Farmers, and they do not. Is that what it is? Yeah, I think it's. Oh my god, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, but do you insure the actual like the modifications?
Yeah, they give me over $100,000 of insurance.
Okay.
They don't charge me like they charge me like they would charge anyone that like has an expensive.
So what do you pay monthly? Can I ask?
I pay $102 a month.
102. I pay over 200.
See, but you also live in Jersey, and it's very expensive to live there as well.
Yeah.
But
and I've stayed farm. Oh, you're farmers.
Farmer. I think no, maybe it's not. I don't even know what. Oh god, that's so sad. I don't even remember. I feel I should go look. Anyway.
That's right. Yeah.
I was paying. I know I had her send me, my insurance agent. She sent me the policy, making sure that I wasn't going to end up getting screwed for this. I needed to make sure that was good, not too good to be true. So and it's and like so I pay for insurance. You got your oil changes, your inspections, your usual wear and tear stuff. The sudden breakdowns are horrible. The rental van, if you have my insurance has a rental van coverage. So, which is kind of nice. That's kind of good. And then modification maintenance, gasoline. I mean, I just think a lot of people don't understand if they're fundraising for a vehicle, that's great. But they also need to know that once they've fundraised, that they're going to have to keep it up. So that's money, like that's regular money. That I would say my car probably cost me, I don't know, probably $350 a month, $400 a month, around there. Did you guys ever add it up? Do you like?
I don't have a number, but I know that I would say I had the last car for like 13 years, so the last 6 years of having it, I mean, I was in there every 6 months, not for regular car stuff, just the modification maintenance of things going on and little glitches and things like that, or the ramp or the motor to the sliding door, or there's a million things in our modifications, not even just the steering, but that went wrong that had to be maintained. So not even just regular brake brake fixing and stuff like that. So it's like double the cost of maintaining, at least, for sure.
Right. It does. It's something that I like I said, I don't think a lot of people really think about right away. I think they just get so hyper focused on getting through the process and building the vehicle that they don't think about that. And Maria, I totally I don't know. If I were you, I'd be scared if I were you as far as having a 3-year-old, or even by the time this process is over, your van's going to be like 5 years old. And
we'll see.
I know, but I think it'll be okay. Because, I mean, honestly, I think my van would have been, I had my van for 10 years, and I think my van would have been okay if, but it was a mix of everything all at once, And, I mean, honestly, those ramps, they'll hang in there. I think your ramp is going to be okay. Your hand controls are going to be new. So I think, and, I mean, they're good cars. So I hope you make it through. Could you, by any chance, trade it in and get, like, a new van?
I probably could. I mean, it helped that my dad and I got a really good deal when we purchased it new. I think we paid, without taxes and stuff, I think it was like $19,000 new. It was ridiculously good.
Yeah.
So it's not that big of a deal. And I'm sure in the condition that it's in, it would have a very good resale value in terms of trade-in. So I'm not that worried about it. It would just be a pain in the ass.
Right. What color is it?
It is dark gray, so it's not quite black, but it's not like silver. It's like a dark gray, and right now it's pretty much a forest gray because there's a lot of pollen in Atlanta, and my car is covered in green pollen right now.
Oh, okay. And what color is your car, Chris?
Mine is white, and we named it Vanna White.
Oh, very nice. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. And what about you, Lauren? What color are you going to get? Do you know? Do you have a preference?
Yeah, I like the true blue color. It's like a dark blue color.
Yeah.
So I like that color the
My
best.
friend has that color. She has a dark blue kind of like town and country. It's very, very snazzy. And I chose my van is actually on the event photo. It's on it's got the Stevie Hopkins 3E Love heart on it. It's red. Huh?
Mine has the 3D love heart on the back. That and the radio station that I used to work for earlier.
Well, hey guys, I gotta interrupt. I gotta run real quick.
No,
But,
do you have any
it was
questions
really
or
cool to
anything?
meet-
I was done with my presentation, so.
No, it was great. I'm sorry to run early,
You
but
were
it was
amazing.
great.
No, thank you for coming and sharing.
Thanks for having me. I'll try to come to another one.
Okay, cool. I'll post
All right,
it. All right, take care.
bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
And then there were 3. So anyway, yeah, I was actually done. My last slide said thank you for listening.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions? I mean, do you guys have anything that I can offer?
I think that helped out a lot. I think I'll have to look more into insurance because the quotes that I got for the unmodified van, since I am a new driver, was about $700. But
A month?
No, every 6 months.
Oh.
Every 6 months.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's not so bad. That's not so bad.
Yeah, and then to insure about 50,000 is what I tried to get a quote for. It's going to cost more than that. The equipment was about 1,200 every 6 months. So that was from Geico. So I had to call around, look into some others.
Let me hold on a second. I'm just going to find out the name. Because I think it's a national company. It may not, you wouldn't be able to use my agent, but hold on a second.
Okay.
I'm going to pick up insurance. Farmers. Okay, no, it's not Farmers. Hold on. I'm going to find it. Safeco. Safeco has my insurance. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I said Farmers. I hope they don't watch this video. Okay.
I have to look and see if they're available in Maryland.
Yeah, what was nice is, let me see. Yeah, so I'm looking at an email that she sent me. And then here, let me show you. I just want to show you what just for the hell of it, I'll show you what the language says. So she says, sorry this is taking so long. I actually have great news about Safeco's auto policy. You do not need to pay extra to have the additional equipment covered under your Safeco auto policy. It is, hold on. Why isn't it showing the rest? It is covered automatically at no additional charge. All they require is photos of all the equipment that's been added to the van, along with the photos of the exterior of the van. I have attached a proposal along with the page of the policy that shows coverage for the equipment. It is listed in the first paragraph under D. Please review, please call me to email.
Okay.
So then she sent me the stuff, and then she breaks down the page that actually says that they will not, I'm trying to see where it is. I cannot find it. Oh, this part right under D, like under the first, like on the first column on the left, there's A, B, C, and D. And then underneath that, it says, this exclusion does not apply to equipment installed to make a vehicle handicap accessible.
Okay.
So that was that, and that allowed me to not, so this is the proposal, and the quote, where is the quote? There's got to be a better, hold on. I'm going to show you what my quote is just so you can see. I hope this is helpful.
Yeah, it does. I mean, I can hopefully look into asking them about it if handicap accessible equipment is maybe exempt or not, covered without having a separate, special equipment. They call it customized is what they are terming it now.
So if you look at it, I got, can you see it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I pay for 12 months, $11.90, and my bodily injuries at 100,000, 300,000 per accident, property damage $100,000. So pretty much, I went up to 100,000 for everything, and I figured with depreciation of the vehicle, even my van was close to that, like when I first got it. But now with depreciation, I would probably just get, whatever is covered after depreciation. So, but it's possible with Safeco. They have it in their policy, at least in Texas. And so I was trying to tell Amanda that because I want her to pay less on her insurance. But I don't know what it is. She's like, refuses to believe me. She thinks it's magic. And I think it can be done for, at least in Texas, for $120 a month at the most.
Okay.
I think it can be done. Progressive, I tried going with Progressive as I had Progressive as an insurance company before this company. And they did not have that exclusion. And so I was digging around and trying to get them to give me something in writing, and I couldn't get it. And so I was like, well, I needed to get that in writing. So whatever you do, ask them to give you the rider or something. It's like, there's a word for it. Oh crap, what is it called? Anyway, but yeah, ask them to give you like the details of how they do their policy stuff.
Yeah, that's okay. Awesome. That helped out a lot. Just quick what was like your first experience driving by yourself once all the training was done?
Oh, I hate
whoa.
driving by myself. It's hard to remember because honestly, I probably had someone with me all forever because I think I signed up to do this kind of professional development thing I think it was like once or twice a week. And it was about 20 minutes from my apartment. And I had to drive there. And I couldn't get someone to go with me. I was kind of just scooting around on the weekends and stuff for a while. It's really funny because I lived within walking distance of the school that I worked at. So the fact that my vocational rehab counselor paid for me to get a van to go to work was hilarious because I could like spit and hit the school. And like so anyway, but I used like all my professional development as the reason why I needed a van. And then I moved, and now I lived far away from the school after a while. But anyway, I had to go to that class, and I remember that kind of forced me. But I still to this day don't take highways. I don't drive on highways. I'm a total grandma. I take all the back roads. Like they call me back road Betty. If there's a back way there, I'll be there. I'll be totally on it. And it was funny, is I took the city bus for so long that the only way I knew how to get around the town was to go the city bus way. And so I would literally be so relieved to be behind a city bus because I could stop and rest and not freak out. And I just drive a little, follow the city bus. It was hilarious. And it's still funny because I have a really hard time, like, driving like aggressively, or I am very slow. I don't like going over 40 miles an hour.
Right.
So,
Yeah,
huh?
it was very different because I am a backseat driver, but when I was doing my training, I was like, oh my gosh, I need to go super slow and stay far away from cars as much as possible. And then living in the DC metro area, I'm like, oh gosh, I'm gonna have to get on the beltway and
No, don't do it. Like I literally, like, I don't know if there's a way to avoid it. Like, I don't know how anyone does it, man. I like Amanda. Like, that's the thing. Amanda would have been great to be here tonight because Amanda is totally cripped out. She's like way more cripply than I am, and she is such a badass. Like, she gets in this van and she just drives like super fast on the highway, and like I can't. And my driving instructor has come out and he's like, it's all psychological, Emily. And I'm like, no, I can't do it. I just can't. And he's like, it's totally psychological. You know, you need to jump over this hoop. And I'm like, nope, I don't have to. And so I just don't.
But
So
it really is psychological. Remember that day after my second evaluation where I texted you, Emily, and
yes,
I was like so distraught over the fact that I felt like I had like de-dressed to a point where I maybe would not pass my evaluation. And like sure enough, the next day it was like back to normal and not as scary, and it was all just nerves. And I hope that never happens to me again. It probably will, but
well, I am a very nervous and very, very careful driver, and I just accepted that. And
yeah.
you know, and everybody is like, it's hilarious. Like, because what takes a person like 10 minutes takes me like 30.
Yeah.
And so,
Okay.
and like anyone that drives with me, it's like they're just like, Emily, do you realize that
Well,
we could be there so much faster?
for me, I think what it was, and this is just during the evaluation phase, I got a good handle on like driving 20 miles per hour in a residential area and making all those turns and everything. And then towards the end of that session, he asked me to go farther out into a 35 mile per hour zone on the perimeter of the neighborhood. And getting there was fine. But then there were drivers that were impatient that were starting to pass me illegally, and it freaked me out. Like I kind of just got really fatigued, both mentally and physically, all at once. And then I just like my body gave up on me. I was like, I can't drive anymore
No,
today.
it's hard when you're being evaluated too. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I've had moments like that where I've been scared or I've had something happen to me where I'm under a lot of pressure and I feel incredibly taxed physically. And
Mhm.
and the thing is, if I'm in an area where I always drive, if I'm in an area where I'm always driving, I am so fine. Like I even get up to like 50 miles an hour. I'm like, woo-wee. But if I go into an area of unknown, like
Mhm.
I can't do it. I always have to have somebody with me because the curves in the road, like I have lanes I prefer to be in. I have like, and it's not that, and people might say, well, that's very dangerous. You can't drive in. But it's like, no, if I know exactly where I'm going and I know exactly what lane to be in and I know what light's coming up and I know how the traffic works and the flow of traffic, like I get through just fine. But when I'm in unknown territory, that's when I freak out. And so, yeah, new places, new things, I get very, very nervous. And so it takes me a really long time to work up the courage to drive, especially when I'm alone.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm just super paranoid. But like, I mean, Amanda is like, I don't know, she's just got crazy courage. And she'll just get on I-35, which is a crazy highway, and she'll just boogie on everywhere. And like, I mean, I don't know, she really impresses me. So, I mean, she reminds me every day that it's just my crazy brain. And it has nothing to do with my body. It has nothing to do with it at all. But yeah, so and I have visions of my death all the time. So I don't want to, I'm very morbid. So I don't want to die. So I have I think about oh my God, so if I'm on a highway, an accident on a highway is going to be a lot scarier than an accident in a smaller residential area. So I hate highways.
Okay. Well, I definitely have to see it because I think we're going to do a few hours of training once the van is completed. So cross your fingers we're going to attempt the highway because it's so much faster, but I am definitely nervous about getting on the beltway.
You don't have to. You don't have to do it. No.
We'll see.
You don't have to. You can say no. It doesn't mean no, really.
Stay away, program my GPS to avoid highways.
Yes. I don't know. I mean, if there's a way to do it,
Yeah.
do it.
There is.
Yeah. I believe that with all my heart. Okay. I don't know. But I mean, you could be a total badass and be like Amanda. Amanda would sit here and tell us all I was insane right now. She would. But she's not here. So in honor of Amanda, I'll admit that. I'll admit I'm probably a little nuts, but oh well. But anyway, thank you for coming to the show.
Thank you.
I hope you learned something. I hope it was good to share. And I hope to see you again.
Yeah, absolutely. It was fun. Definitely my first one. Now that I have the, program downloaded, so I'll try to attend some more.
Next week, we're going to talk about urine. We're going to talk about the SPCs, the suprapubic catheters again.
Okay.
Probably my favorite topic because I'm scared to death of that too. But anyway, thank you very much.
All right.
Thanks, Emily. Bye.
Bye. Bye.